Okay, Melanie, you're looking darn good here. Craft is fantastic as usual, so this is good. I was really impressed with your writing because it seems like you're developing a nice little talent for critiquing your own work, and that's really, really important for any designer, specifically when it comes to typography. So I was really pleased to see that. And your comments are exactly right. You were able to look at your work and decipher what's wrong. I do have a couple of things to add to that. But before I do that, just want to kind of stay true to form here. And I'm trying to mention to all students the importance of these videos here. So the welcome, all the videos are important, but welcome to week one, how to complete banana, how to kern banana on the computer, and welcome to week two. These are all really important. Welcome to week two has got 4 videos in there. Each one is extremely important. I actually demonstrated exactly how to kern fire and ice in here too, plus examples. So be sure to take a look at those. This document is from that one of those videos, and this document I consider to be kerned and spaced perfectly. So we'll use that for comparison. And as we can see, your craft is really great, but we have some issues with kerning. And like I said, you seem to have recognized those. But right now, let's start with the very beginning. This space right here is it's so wide. I mean, that looks like fire instead of fire. Clearly much wider than it needs to be as we take a look at comparison here. Don't be afraid to get that E right next to the serif for the F. You can get about right like that. You don't want to get any closer than that. You'll have to use a ligature. But we don't need to do that in this assignment. I just work on that space. We'll close down that space a little bit. The space between the I and R, again, is a little bit wide, and the space between the R and the E is a little wide. So your kerning is ultra wide in fire. So we want to close that down a little bit. Use that as an example. Feel free to take a screenshot of that for comparison in your next iteration. Okay, and it's A and D. This is a separate group. So this is too wide right here. We can clearly see that this is too wide, which almost has this. This is close, almost closer to this. This space right here does some weird things. It almost looks like fire, A, and D, ice. So fire, and ice, as opposed to fire and ice. And the idea is for the viewer to be able to look at this and have it register immediately without doing any kind of pronunciation or any kind of enunciating the words. It should just register fire and ice without even really pronouncing the words, right? And that is due to expeditious and effective spacing. So we can see how spacing will definitely slow down the reader. Okay, so this space too wide, close that down. This is okay, but again, a little bit too wide. And then ice, I think ice is pretty good. Now we have some issues with craft here because this is kind of on an angle. But I think ice is kerned quite nicely. I think this space between the C and the E can be closed down a little bit. And then as far as your letter spacing goes, we can see that this seems a little bit wider. You have to watch this space right here and do some adjustments. And the reason being is it's this open counter right here. This creates an illusion of greater space between these two areas. So I would close that down a little bit to eliminate the possibility of the viewer viewing that as a space and pronouncing this or misunderstanding this as fire and ice, as we want to take a break, as we want to pause where there's an extra break or space, I should say. Okay, so you want to close that down a little bit. So overall, in general, watch your craft. Just clean up your craft a little bit. Um, close down the spacing on the word fire. All 3 spaces in this word need to be narrowed. This space between the A and the N is too wide. You want to narrow that. That's good right there. And the space between the C and the E. And then you want to narrow this space a little bit or widen this space a little bit. Other than that, great start. If you have any questions at all, Melanie, please let me know. Thank you very much.